As humans, we reckon time most naturally according to the rhythm of our lives. As such, birth and death, these sublimely percussive moments, take on a special significance. It's in these moments that we're removed from the stresses of the hour. What we will eat for dinner, how our significant other frowned at the wrong time, where rent is going to come from. And we're confronted by the total reality of a life. Something so profound that we're enthralled and re-energized, ready to re-engage with this stumble-walking experience we call life. But if death is unnatural, that is to say, imposed by others, especially when it's concealed and abetted by the state and status quo, for those loved ones remaining in breath, this same profundity often takes a negative hue. These days, which are rightfully Jubilee days, can become asphyxiating days of sorrow, helplessness, and despair. And with the rest of the world still operating on the hour, the despair often goes unnoticed, unacknowledged, and a deep loneliness can settle in. And I don't mean to bring anyone down. Our purpose today is to celebrate the lives of O'Shane Evans, Kenneth Harding Jr., James Rivera, Manuel Diaz, Joey Acevedo, Darnell Benson. There was a focus, particularly at first, on people whose lives eclipsed in July, as well as the others. And here I'm going to stop this, name a few. I'm sure you'll fill in the gaps. Idris Stelly, Antolin Marenko, Eric Garner, Matthew Hoffman, Alice Angel Brown, Lupe Ochoa, Yvette Henderson, Petey Perez, Sandra Bland, Alex Nieto, Amilcar Perez Lopez, and many more whose lives were stolen by police terror. Philip Watts. And this celebration was to be held under the auspices, the ancestral birthday of Madiba, Baba Nelson Mandela, who to O'Shane's family and many is a source of inspiration. Now, I'm not going to step away from it. There was controversy over this decision, as many are rightfully critical of the current state of the ANC, as well as sometimes cartoon-worthy media portrayals of Madiba. I would share this. First off, in general, media lies. Secondly, criticism is as healthy as praise, but both have their time and place. Nelson Mandela was a pacifist and then a soldier, an attorney and then a guerrilla, an inmate and then a president. You cannot go through life with all these changes and be unaffected. And when I think of this, I think of the trials and tribulations that many of those that we celebrate here today went through. It's the difference between judging a man by the hour and taking their life as a whole beautiful moment. And it's the latter that guides us today. I was asked to speak on Madiba's 27 years of incarceration and its impact. To this, I can only reply with a Kenyan proverb. Only a man who has lost a brother knows what it's like to lose a brother.
All right. Amen.
Which is to say that those of us who have never endured such confinement will never know. But we've been arrogant not to acknowledge the sacrifice or the human reality that this happened. I will say that Nelson Mandela stated he was prepared to die for the ideal of freedom at his trial, refused a release deal in 1985 that involved surrendering the armed struggle, and when he was released in 1990, came out strongly demanding that the struggle be intensified on all fronts. I was also asked to speak on the school-to-prison pipeline, which frankly, as a former director of education on incarceration, I used to do quite often.
Speak on it.
It's common knowledge that people of color, and especially black folk, are being pushed out of schools for illegitimate reasons, and once out are subject to multiple assaults, by paramilitary forces known as police. But I don't think the statistics are as important as I once did. By the way, Nelson Mandela was the first of his family to attend school. I agree with Mumia Abu-Jamal that we need to not only question the fate of those pushed out of school, but also those left in a system designed to educate away their race. Decades after the fight for black studies, our public school youth are still perpetually taught, with a few brilliant exceptions, that they are problems. That their way is not the right way. Privatization of schools creates new racialized parameters whereby students are excluded based on factors that fly in the face of Title VII civil rights legislation. And those that make it through school often are so emotionally and mentally abused by the process, not to mention a little payola, that they forget who they are and where they come from, or who's left on the plantation. I'm not anti-education. I celebrate the fact that Lori Davis, Raheem Brown Sr., and their sons Kevin and Christopher are pursuing continuing education after the police killing of Raheem Brown Jr. I celebrate the fact that Danica Chapman is pursuing college in the fall after the death of Kenneth Harding Jr. I celebrate the fact that Derek Benson is continuing school after SF law enforcement killed his brother Darnell April 3rd of this year. Darnell, by the way, was born on the 4th of July. But if education is to help us, it must be in the context of gaining power. We must have economic, educational, political, and physical self-determination. Anything short is a placebo. Finally, speaking of the 4th of July, self-determination, and the controversy over the corruption that has set into the ANC as it has in most governments in the world, it should be remembered that the 4th of July was also the death day of that slave-owning Virginian, Thomas Jefferson, who said to the people, and he meant whites, but we can still take a cue, when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for the future security. I think he was correct, and I think it's as applicable to South Africa as it is to the United Capitalist Prison States of America. Therefore, today, let us celebrate with the ancestors, old and recent, these beautiful spirits, these eclipses of life, and then tomorrow, let's take our power back, let's get rid of this wretched edifice of a so-called government, and if we accomplish this, we know that we will not have to bring the celebration to the ancestors, for at that time, they will host a celebration for us.
All right. Yes.
And with that, I'd like to bring up Angela.
Come on,